Hi, everyone. Assemblywoman Suzette Martinez Valderas here. I am live from my hotel room here in Sacramento. Really exciting first week of session here in Sacramento. It was in my first budget meeting for 4 hours on Monday. Such an amazing, insightful meeting. Because man, if you guys are able to see some of my that hearing, we have a budget that is literally 3 volumes, 3 books large. It's massive. It's this big. And I talked a lot about the priorities that are important for our community, specifically around funding for grants for public safety power shutoffs. I talked a lot about childcare workforce, really asking the governor to make sure that he's prioritizing our resources for our community. So we're going to bring you some additional information about that later. But today, I wanted to connect with you on Facebook Live to talk to you about what everyone I feel is talking about, which is the COVID-19 vaccine. I have an amazing guest that I'm going to bring on in just a second here, Dr. Jerry Abrams. He specializes in family and general preventative medicine, and he actually has a clinic, Kendron Health, in South Los Angeles. And Kendron Health is a hub for healthcare workers at small community clinics in Los Angeles poorest neighborhoods. So let me bring on Dr. Abrams here. Dr. Abrams, welcome.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Wonderful. Thank you for having me, Assemblywoman Suzette.
Of course. Thank you so much. I was so excited to be able to talk to you about vaccines, but can you tell us where you're at now and what you're doing right now?
I am still here with my team, and we're still vaccinating healthcare workers and others that qualify under the phases and tiers and the protocols. So we're in the middle, we're in the thick of it still. We're here in South Los Angeles, not very far from downtown, and we serve predominantly Black and Brown communities and the clinics where our Black and Brown neighbors go and their staff.
Got it. So, Dr. Abrams, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, about your background, and then how did you're administering vaccines? It's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, my background is as a family physician, but I'm also a public health scientist, an epidemiologist. That's someone who studies epidemics, and we find ourselves in a global pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, if you will. And so my previous life was studying pandemics. My current life is being a family doc. And thankfully, those two things came perfectly together to figure out how to deliver vaccines to Los Angeles.
Especially for our underserved communities. I mean, that's such a specific expertise. And as we're looking at this virus, it is disproportionately affecting our Black and Latino neighbors, family members. So what amazing work that is. Can you give us kind of, for those people who know nothing about vaccines, I mean, I think everybody has some idea of vaccines because we've all gotten, measles or whatnot from the time we were a kid. We're required to have immunizations at schools. But what are vaccines? What do they do?
Vaccines help our bodies fight off infectious diseases. And so we usually, by injection, inject you with a medicine called a vaccine, and then your body develops a response, and that response helps you fight any future infection of that particular type. So as you talked about, to go to school, we have to get immunized amongst a lot of common vaccines or bugs such as mumps and measles and all of things that we usually hear. But this one's a little different, and that is a new technology called mRNA, and it's a new vaccine technology, but it's one that has been approved through the FDA emergency use authorization product for the use for this pandemic.
So we hear a lot of people talk about herd immunity. What is herd immunity? Do you think we're going to get there with this vaccine? And what is herd immunity?
Herd immunity is when a certain percentage of the whole community have antibodies, have protection, have the immune response necessary to fight off the bug. And then the bug, the virus or the bacteria, don't have enough hosts to infect any longer because there just aren't enough people that could be susceptible. And so the very few, very vulnerable people that can't get vaccinated because they have reactions, they have very serious diseases, they can't get the vaccine, but because all of us have, they won't get sick from terrible things like COVID-19 one day if we achieve herd immunity. And it is possible with this particular virus.
Okay, that's good to know. When I think I was about 7 months pregnant, my doctor told me I had a susceptibility or lack of an immunity for German measles, and I was pregnant and could not get a vaccine. So this is so important for people, for so many people in society that cannot get this vaccine. So can you give us all kind of a little bit of a history lesson on how vaccines have been disseminated in the past? I mean, I think this is the first time that I've ever experienced such a high volume of a need. I mean, my experience with vaccines and growing up is, you go and you get, the chickenpox vaccine, or it's something that hasn't been a mass rollout like we're needing and seeing. So what's been the history?
That's a very good question. Right now, to take a quick little pause, is it okay if I show someone getting their COVID vaccine real quick? Is that okay?
I would love that.
Okay, so Jessica's okay if I show? This is one of our nurse practitioners, and this is one of our patients that's getting vaccinated right now. So we're at the end of the day, and these are our last remaining doses. We've been vaccinating hundreds of people here in South LA. And, there's a whole process. You register the patient, they come through, they get vaccinated, and then we report that to the county and the state public health departments. And so imagine doing this for hundreds, if not thousands. And that's where we hope to get come, May, by honestly, even as early as March, we hope to really be able to publicly make this available. But right now we got to slowly work our way through all of the phases and tiers that have been set forth, starting with healthcare workers onto very vulnerable members of society, such as 65 and over, those living in nursing homes and whatnot. But back to your question, how did we get here with COVID? Was that the correct question?
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, of course, it's been a long year and we're learning as we go. And we didn't have the luxury of time. So that's kind of why we've gone through the process to get this vaccine available. And that's different from other vaccines where we may have had the ability to really have studied the organism for longer and then maybe even studied the treatments. But here we're balancing saving lives versus making sure we know everything. We just don't have that luxury. So we're having to kind of run with what we know. Why is there a fear? Because of course there's always a fear. Could this vaccine harm me? Is this some sort of government program? Why are they targeting certain individuals? Those might be things that my patients ask me all the time. And the truth is that in this case, this isn't a social experiment. We're not trying to hurt, especially the high risk healthcare workers, essential workers, people in South Los Angeles, Black and Brown communities. These medicines are being quickly developed and offered because they save lives.
Right. So just to give everybody out there that's kind of listening a little bit more information about this rollout of our vaccines in California, the governor issued through the California Public Health Department essentially a phase system. And in each of those phases, there is a certain category of people that qualify for vaccines. The first phase is our healthcare workers, those in senior facilities, or that are some of our most vulnerable. Is that correct? And what are the other phases? I know we're in one phase now. We're just in the beginning of the phases, but what are the other phases like?
Yes, let me demonstrate. Okay, so it's definitely a tiered and phased approach. I know it's a little hard to see, but we're what's called phase 1A. And then we're in tier 1 and tier 2. And those are people working and serving in clinics and hospitals, home health workers, IHSS, and other extremely vulnerable healthcare workers and the residents of residential facilities. So that's why you may be like, why did they get one and why didn't I? But as we move down the list, we're going to eventually get to phase 1B and phase 1C, where we're going to start getting to our 75 and older, our 65 and older eventually. We're going to be getting to our essential workers who are on the front lines, working in grocery stores, working out in retail, who are keeping the economy open. And then we'll also be getting to our teachers and everyone else that's really exposed to the public at a higher rate. And then eventually we'll get to phase 2, where we'll really start peeling back the layers and getting as much of the public who don't meet any of those criteria, the vaccine kind of through the regular vaccine distribution programs and channels.
So, what have been some of the obstacles? I've been reading that we were initially, California allocated 1.5 million dosages of the vaccine, and about a week ago, we're at having administered just over 400,000. I think it's 27%. There, I mean, in from my understanding, there's just obstacles, or what's going on? Why can't we get it into people's arms quickly enough?
Sure. That's a great question. Obviously, there's just a gazillion boxes, right? There's a
Yeah.
crap ton of paperwork involved, right? There's
Mm.
actually lots of considerations about how you store and keep this vaccine in refrigerators and freezers and how long you can actually have it out. So that's really why it's been challenging, is because people haven't been able to meet all the requirements of registering always, or getting through that process fast enough, getting all the information needed to be vetted to get the shipments to them, or get to go to public health and actually pick up the shipments. So in many ways, we fought tirelessly, and that's kind of why we are where we're at right now. But I know that it's very resource intensive. We had the luxury of running down to public health. We were able to figure out all the glitches in our application quickly. We have kind of people that were able to figure out and work out the kinks in the technical and the software side when it came to reporting who actually got vaccinated. And so that's why we're at the point where now we can vaccinate hundreds of people, and we're on a mission to vaccinate one person a minute. We're really trying to vaccinate 2,000 to 3,000 people every day here in South LA, out of Kedron, 7 days a week. And we know now more than ever we need it. It is hitting and killing the Black and brown communities more than it is anywhere else. And every minute, 10 people are testing positive for COVID in our community. So we really don't have any time to waste or to wait.
Yeah. So there are two vaccines that we're administering, Moderna and Pfizer. We're going to be getting more doses of that. But what's the process going to be, especially for people who aren't necessarily a part of the essential workforce? I mean, do you go through your insurance? Do you go through your primary doctor? What do you do if you don't have insurance and you're not in one of these categories where your employer is scheduling out this vaccine for you?
They're going to be able to go to, quote unquote, this pod. That's where we're at. It's a point of distribution. And so regardless of whether you have insurance, regardless of your documentation status or immigration status, whoever you are, we are making it a priority in the county of Los Angeles that everyone equitably receives access to the vaccine. So none of those things will become barriers. And as far as paying for it, the federal government, through the several of these COVID-19 acts, actually approved this vaccine and paid for it. So no one is paying for this vaccine. We're all paying for it, in fact, through our tax dollars. So that's something that you should not be worried about.
So then that's great to hear. I think everybody needs to know that you can get this vaccine for free when your phase is up. But we're also going to have to do some engagement, some community outreach, because people are not going to know this, right? And people who haven't, especially people who do not have insurance, that don't know that it's free, that don't know who to go to. So what is what messaging can I give to my constituency, to my friends and family, about how to keep tabs on when they're up?
Well, I will say one of the best things that we can do is partner with community organizations right now, because I think we should be working very hard to educate the public, to let them know when their time is up, if they're eligible, if they meet all the safety issues or any of the questions that we ask, they should go ahead and get it. And they should already have a lot of their questions and concerns answered. And they should know where they're going to get it from, when they can get it. So that's a big part of it, is partnering with Chirla and with other organizations to make sure that they're getting into the churches, the community centers, wherever it is that people live and interact with others, and they get to learn and find out where to go. But there's going to be a lot of messaging that's coming out in the next few weeks and months to make sure people know where to log on to find a clinic, how to get there, what to do, who can get a vaccine. So those are all things that we're working on diligently. Did that kind of answer your question,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Is there anything else you want to kind of convey to the public about just how vital and important it is to get this vaccine? I want to get you back to work because you got people to shoot in the arm there.
Okay. It's a daily struggle trying to get this operation going. I just want to say this has been really tough, and it's really required all of us to come together and to work together. This really is about being a part of a community and having that sense of community right now. And so I'm glad that my team really came together, and we're all working overtime, early hours, late hours, weekends to make this happen. So likewise, I'm appreciative that y'all are all patient. Please wait your turn. Please watch closely when we get through the phases and the tiers. We will get to you. We will vaccinate everyone. If you have questions, please ask your doctor or your clinic. We want you to feel as comfortable. There is nothing here to hide. We're completely transparent, but we know that this medicine, this vaccine will save lives in our community. And I really hope that everyone who is eligible does get it.
And likewise, I just encourage all of you when it is your turn to get your vaccine. If you have any questions, you can reach out to my office. We'll find the answers for you. And honestly, whatever I can do to help expedite this process, the more people we can vaccinate, the sooner. Oh, there it is.
There it is. There it is. One day we will all get one.
One day, and we'll get two actually, because there's two shots. So thank you so much for jumping on. I want to let you get back to work because you're doing some very important stuff, and please let me know how I can be helpful as well.
Really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Of course. Bye-bye. So everyone, I just wanted, to connect with you guys so that you could learn a little bit more about the rollout of the vaccine. I think we were all so anxious to get back to normal life, to move forward, to open our businesses, to get kids back to school. This vaccine rollout, getting people this vaccine is a big part of that process. So I'm a huge voice and advocate for making sure that this rollout runs as smoothly as possible, but as quickly as possible. And we're not there yet. We got to get there, though. It's vital to our community. So please, if you have any questions, if you have any suggestions about anything COVID related, about EDD or the DMV, if you need help, please reach out to my office. You can find me at 80. Just Google Suzette Valadares and it'll pop up. You can also email me at assembly member Valadares at assembly.ca.gov. I may have gotten that wrong, but my team will go ahead and punch my email in here soon. Please reach out to our office if you need anything. Looking forward to connecting again soon. Bye there.